right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
Tonight, remembering the victims of the Hamas terror attack on Israel. The gathering just hours ago here in St. Louis to reflect and pray for peace.
October cooled down, but not for long. I'll tell you, wind will warm right back up again.
Our top story, a monster of a storm named Milton taking aim on Florida's west coast.
As of right now, this is a ferocious hurricane.
Tonight, evacuations and preparations underway in the Sunshine State.
There's something about this one that I'm feeling very uneasy about.
And the call for help here in St. Louis. Right now, Hurricane Milton is churning in the Gulf of Mexico as a powerful Category 5 storm. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kelly Jackson.
And I'm Mike Bush. Tonight, Floridians are boarding up their homes and getting out of Milton's path. The storm is expected to make landfall on Wednesday. Tampa could take a direct hit for the first time in more than a century.
There's a lot of uncertainty about what is going to happen in terms of this track. It is predicted that this will weaken, but it was not predicted that it would get this strong to begin with. So we can hope and pray that it does weaken.
Dozens of Florida counties are already under a state of emergency. President Joe Biden has approved an emergency declaration for the state. Resources in Florida are already stretched thin from Hurricane Helene.
Missouri Task Force 1 and the Red Cross in St. Louis are sending more help to the Sunshine State. 5 on Your Side's Laura Barcheski talked with a volunteer who was already there. Laura?
Mike and Kelly, I talked with a Red Cross volunteer who just arrived in Florida to ride out the storm and help as much as possible with preparations before the storm hits.
There are people who have already lost their homes or their homes were severely damaged and they're trying to rebuild. And it's not been long enough for them to really start getting their feet under them. But for those that did, then all of a sudden comes along another big hurricane.
Ahead of Hurricane Milton, Missouri Red Cross volunteer Dan Sutton made the trek down to Tallahassee, Florida. One of his first tasks is helping others prepare.
Delivering supplies to shelters to make sure that they have what they need to ride out the storm and, of course, any for several days following that.
Sutton says right now the Red Cross is hard at work getting people out of harm's way, especially those who are still in Tampa and already in shelters.
We are moving them to hurricane-hardened buildings. So they will be safe, and we're going to be moving clients into those buildings.
The Red Cross is working with other agencies in Florida as there are 51 counties and counting under a state of emergency.
The Florida Division of Emergency Management is actively addressing storm-related resource requests. They're currently in the process of fulfilling 850 missions. They've deployed everything from sandbags to shelf-stable meals to tens of thousands of water bottles to thousands of tarps.
54 Missouri Red Cross volunteers have deployed to help with either Helene or Milton. 24 of them are from St. Louis, but they still need more for this massive relief effort.
They can go through some of the training. A lot of it is online and get through that training within a week or two, and we can send them out to this hurricane. We've really reduced the amount of time it takes to get through the training so that we can get people there much quicker.
If you have the time to volunteer, that is one of the biggest needs, but you can also help by donating funds and giving blood. We'll have a link to all that information on KSDK.com.
It has dropped 50 millibars in 10 hours. I apologize. This is just horrific.
That is Hurricane Specialist John Morales of NBC Miami becoming visibly emotional and in disbelief about how quickly Milton intensified from a tropical storm to a Cat 5 hurricane. And our weather impact meteorologist Jim Castillo is tracking the tropics for us tonight. Jim.
Yeah, in a matter of hours today, that storm became a 5 from a 2. So right now, winds have lowered a little bit, but still 165 mile per hour sustained winds. off the coast of the Yucatan, Cancun right about there. And so it's going to brush the northern edge of Cancun as it makes its right turn, or just to the right a little bit, and move northeast. It weakens slightly, but still a Category 4, even a Category 3 direct hit around the Tampa area sometime Wednesday night would be a multi-billion-dollar disaster. So we're going to watch that. The track of this has changed a little bit. It's moved a little bit further south, but right through that Tampa area. So again, watching this mainly on Wednesday for the state of Florida, and then it goes inland as a hurricane right over Orlando, and then also Daytona Beach before heading back out into the open Atlantic. Guys, this is still, again, top 5 for the strongest hurricanes in the Atlantic Basin. I'll have much more on our forecast coming up in just a bit.
It has been 1 year since the October 7th Hamas terror attack on Israel. Somber ceremonies were held across the Jewish state and here in the U.S. to remember the 1,200 men, women, and children killed that day. President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and former President Donald Trump paused in remembrance today. The massacre sparked a devastating war in Gaza, killing more than 40,000 Palestinians and displacing millions. It also led to a wider conflict in the Middle East. Tonight, the St. Louis Jewish community and supporters came together to reflect.
And they also prayed for the return of the hundreds of hostages taken by Hamas. Andy Kroll is just back from the gathering and spoke with leaders about how crucial it is to never forget.
Mike and Kelly, about 1,200 people were in attendance tonight. I spoke to several St. Louis rabbis who said one of the most challenging parts is the emotional toll and depth this war has taken on their communities.
October 7th, 2023, a day that changed the world forever. Especially for the Jewish community in St. Louis, Creve Coeur Rabbi Jim Bennett told us.
For many people, obviously, it has changed horribly, tragically, but for all of us, it has changed in a way to remind us and to rededicate ourselves to the moral courage and the opportunity to learn lessons from this terrible event.
1,200 Israelis were killed in a surprise attack from the terrorist group Hamas. 250 more were taken hostage. Officials believe nearly 100 of them are still being held by Hamas, which is one of the hardest parts for St. Louis Rabbi Scott Shaffrin.
Some who are very young children who were less than a year old when they were taken and have still not been returned to their families who miss them. Some who are very likely presumed dead and who cannot be buried in traditional ways because no one knows where they are.
A leader with the Jewish Community Relations Council of St. Louis, Rabbi Scott was one of the many speakers at the Jewish Community Center on Monday night.
To remember those we have lost.
Emphasizing devastation on both sides of the war.
This whole last year of seeing conflict spin and spiral and more lives shattered has been really impossible to get over for people to see that level of violence.
The Gaza Health Ministry says in the last year, more than 41,000 Palestinians have been killed in Israel's retaliation, leading to international calls for humanitarian relief. Rabbi Jim saying it's been one of the most gut-wrenching years of his life.
All of us really dream and pray and believe and hope that this war will end, but that it will end in a way that allows all the people that are impacted by it to live in peace.
The violence continuing as Israel vowed to strike Iran after launching a ballistic missile attack on the country last week. But here at home, many in the Jewish community continue to ask for peace. Kelly?
Thanks, Annie. Well, a group spread peace and love on Interstate 64 today, just 2 days after neo-Nazis waved swastika flags in the same spot. On Saturday, the neo-Nazis chanted phrases like "America for the white man" and did the Nazi salute on the Mason Road overpass. 5 on Your Side spoke with a Jewish woman who confronted the group. Shelley Dean says she just wanted to have a conversation.
You know, if I found an opportunity, then more people can say, hey, what are some things we can do to learn more or be exposed to more? I am thrilled to know that I can have an impact, hopefully, on even more people.
Dean's Facebook live recording of the confrontation now has more than 30,000 views.
With 29 days until Election Day, Vice President Kamala Harris is going on a media blitz. Tonight, she sat down with 60 Minutes, where she got some pushback on her plan to fix the economy.
So I'm going to make sure that the richest among us who can afford it pay their fair share in taxes. It is not right that teachers And nurses and firefighters are paying a higher tax rate than billionaires and the biggest corporations. And I plan on making that fair.
But we're dealing with the real world here.
But the real world includes...
How are you going to get this through Congress?
You know, when you talk quietly with a lot of folks in Congress, they know exactly what I'm talking about because their constituents know exactly what I'm talking about.
CBS News says former President Donald Trump backed out of an interview last week. The Trump campaign says they never agreed to the sit-down.
Tomorrow marks 4 weeks until Election Day, and if you live in Missouri and haven't registered to vote yet, you'd want to hurry.
Time is running out, and 5 on your side's Brent Solomon is live downtown with the last-minute push to get Missourians prepared for November 5th.
Yeah, that clock is ticking. You've got 2 days, just 2 days if you live in Missouri to get registered to vote. If you're already registered, you'll still want to pay attention to this story because experts say there are some things you should consider to make sure everything goes as smooth as possible.
This is what the city of St. Louis just sent out to everybody. And on the back, it has a QR code to check your voter registration.
Denise Lieberman with the Missouri Voter Protection Coalition takes this seriously.
I think everybody deserves to have a seat at the table.
She wants to ensure Missourians register to vote by the October 9th deadline and then take advantage of the opportunity to vote come Election Day. Since long lines are expected, Lieberman reminds early voting is an option. Either way, she recommends knowing what's on your ballot before you show up.
And there are a lot of items on the ballot, and each one of them are really important. A lot of us think that, well, I want to go vote for president, but keep in mind that what's on your ballot will also determine who's going to represent you in the state legislature.
Try to make it as easy as possible, eliminate the barriers.
Over at St. Louis University, the Center for Social Action is mobilizing students to vote. There are voter registration applications on site and resources to help young voters make informed decisions.
Young people, I think, have the biggest voice because it's their future that's on the line that gets decided by who's in office.
Regardless of your age, in order to make that voice heard, you have to make sure you're good to go.
It's a really good time to check your voter registration because if you haven't voted in a while or if you've moved, it's possible that your name has been removed from the rolls.
Now, if you live in St. Louis or in St. Louis County, you'll be able to vote at any precinct. All over Missouri, you will need a photo ID to vote. Now, if you live in Illinois, don't worry. If you're not registered to vote, you can do it anytime, even on Election Day. We're live downtown tonight. Brent Solomon, 5 on your side.
A child care crisis in Missouri compounded by IT issues.
It's a debacle. It's chaos.
State payments delayed, leaving providers holding the bag.
It raises a lot of red flags.
Tonight, the I-Team follows the money trail on state contracts and the possible political connections.
October is finally bringing us some cooler weather. Also, we're tracking Hurricane Milton. I'll have the very latest.
A consumer alert tonight for American Water customers in Missouri and Illinois. The largest utility company in the U.S. is pausing billing to customers due to a cyber attack. They say you will not face late fees while billing systems are down. American Water does not believe its facilities or operations were impacted. Tonight, we dig into Missouri's ongoing child care crisis worsened by a statewide IT failure.
The I-Team's Paula Vasan uncovers the financial ties, leading to many asking the question, could political connections be behind the delays?
Look at the fireman, Daisy, look.
Patricia Jones always dreamed of running a daycare.
What does the police officer do?
In the city she's called home her entire life.
I love it. I love what I do.
But lately, she's been losing sleep. Most of the children here live below the poverty line, relying on state subsidies. With the state owing her around $25,000 in payments, she's now struggling just to keep the lights on.
It's caused me to have to take out loans, exhaust my additional bank accounts.
The issues started 10 months ago with a $14 million IT system through Missouri's Department of Education. Vendors Carasoft, MTX, and St. Louis-based Worldwide Technology were responsible for setting it up. It was supposed to streamline payments, but providers like Patricia call it a disaster.
The new system obviously did not meet our goals.
as even state officials admitted in hearings.
We're at the point now where we can't believe what they're saying.
The I-Team has spoken with dozens of daycare owners in St. Louis and across the state.
It's a debacle, it's chaos.
There's nothing you can do in this situation.
All of them not getting the payments they need to stay in business. Some have already shut down. But our investigation uncovered something more alarming, a money trail. The head of one of the state's key contractors, Worldwide Technology, has ties to Missouri politicians. Public records show the company's founder donated about $230,000 this year to political action committees supporting Republican candidates and state officials, including Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe and Governor Mike Parson. The governor's office said the state's contracting process follows strict laws to avoid political influence. Worldwide Technology told us it had no involvement in donations and is focused on fixing the IT system. But concerns remain.
It raises a lot of red flags.
For University of Missouri St. Louis professor Anita Mannion, who studies campaign finance, the connection is troubling.
I think it's really hard to continue to make excuses when this goes on for long periods of time and isn't rectified and has such dire real-world consequences for families, small business owners, and the folks on the ground.
Despite the chaos, the state has said it's sticking with its vendors and promises fixes by the end of the month.
Come on, let's go.
But for many, it's too little too late.
How has this mess impacted the trust that you have in the state to fix this problem?
I have maybe 1% to 2% trust in what's going on.
Just last month, the FBI raided Karasoft, a contractor tied to the failing system. Karasoft says the investigation is related to a past client and not its work in Missouri. But critics like Patricia say it raises concerns about vendor selection.
Do you think the state needs to switch vendors to fix this?
They need to make sure that whatever vendors they choose that they can deliver.
As the state scrambles for solutions, child care providers across Missouri, like Patricia Jones, are left wondering how long they can hold on. For the I-Team, Paula Vasan, 5 on your side.
Well, Scott is off tonight. Meteorologist Jim Castillo joins us now with the weather impact forecast, and it is really scary about what's going to happen to Floridians, especially in the Tampa Bay area over the next couple of nights.
Yeah, that big issue, guys. We'll talk a little bit more about Milton here. Again, watching Wednesday, and it looks like now Wednesday evening. And so Florida will have a direct impact. Will it be Tampa Bay? Will it be just to the south in Sarasota or north of Tampa? So that's that cone of uncertainty, even down to Fort Myers. But the entire state will be impacted by this. It's a high impact storm, 125 mile per hour winds by 8 p.m. on Wednesday. And right now that track takes it right over Tampa Bay and then eventually even over Walt Disney World in Orlando and then off out into the open Atlantic. The problem with Tampa Bay, it's surrounded by water. So you have the storm surge. So 10 to 15 feet above me here, that's how high that storm surge could be with waves on top of that. And that's that red area. So that's just a Category 3, which is a major hurricane. And as it expands its wind field, it'll be a larger Category 3. So then you get rain on top of that. You have river flooding, and some of that rainfall could be as much as 8 to maybe 15 inches of rain. So you can imagine the flooding is also going to be a huge issue there. Back here at home, we're nice and dry, 57 degrees. It's chilly. In fact, this morning we were down in the 40s in most areas, about 51 in St. Louis, but 73 for that high. A cool area of high pressure is bringing us that nice sinking air. And so we're clear tonight, and lows even cooler than it was this morning in St. Louis, so 48. And then some areas, even Chesterfield, down to about 40. Wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of 30s. Lots of sunshine as we head into tomorrow. It's a light wind. We'll call it 70s for tomorrow, but then when that high moves to the east, it spins clockwise, and then we get more of a southerly wind. So Wednesday 80 and 82 Thursday, but look what happens for the weekend coming up. Yeah, it's going to go back up there near 87 on Saturday. And then another cold front, looks like a stronger front, bringing that breeze back into the area Sunday, 81. And breezy Monday. We actually may stay in the 60s on Monday, and then as we get into next week, we'll start to warm back up again. But again, we have these tastes of fall, and then it goes away pretty quickly.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah.
Sports is next.
Well, the Blues are getting ready in Seattle. The Royals and Chiefs are trying to make Kansas City proud tonight. And we have a St. Louis basketball figure who you should be proud of. We'll be right back.
This 5 on Your Side Sports Report is sponsored by Telly Tire and Auto Centers, driving your way since 1942.
Suppose you've been living on Mars for the last 5 years and you just came back and heard this. The St. Louis Blues will open up the hockey season in Seattle at 3:30 on a Tuesday afternoon. Would you believe it? The Blues had a brutal 2-5 preseason, but that means nothing. They are ranked 22nd in a 32-team league in the power rankings, but that doesn't seem to bother the captain who talked in Seattle today.
We have a deep team that, I think a lot of people, are kind of writing us off this year. So, we have a chance to go out there and try and prove people wrong.
It's been a long time coming. You can feel the excitement through the preseason, and especially the last couple home games. And guys are ready to go. Guys are excited, and it should be a lot of fun tomorrow.
Monday Night Football in Arrowhead, where the Chiefs were hosting the Saints, and you knew Taylor Swift would be on hand. And this was the key play of the game. Patrick Mahomes to Juju Smith-Schuster. This is a 51-yard gain. It set up a score. The Chiefs are 5-0 after a 26-13 victory. Playoff baseball in Cleveland. The Tigers and Indians are scoreless in the ninth, 2 outs. And Kerry Carpenter will deliver the biggest blow of the season, a 3-run bomb. And he turned a Progressive Field into the world's largest morgue. The Tigers even the series with a 3-0 victory. The greatest Royal of them all, George Brett in Yankee Stadium for Game 2. And Tommy Pham, who's had some October moments before, delivers again an RBI base hit. The Royals even the series with a 4-2 victory. I can't ever remember this happening. SLU has 2 basketball players named preseason first-team All-Atlantic 10. Gibson Jimerson, who averaged 16 points a game, is one of them, and Robbie Avila is the other. He averaged 17 points and 4 assists for Indiana State last season. SLU was picked to finish 4th in the conference. So the best part of my job is profiling prolific people from St. Louis doing their thing. Drew Hanlon qualifies. He is the trainer to the stars.
Down. If you just take the step, not good. It's more of a...
We first introduced you to Drew Hanlon 16 years ago. There may not be a more dedicated high school basketball player in town than Webster Grove's Drew Hanlon.
I've coached 17 years, and I've never seen anything like that.
The like that happens in the wee hours of a weekday morning. 5:36 to be exact. And Hanlon is shooting how many shots?
I shoot somewhere from 700 to normally 1,000. This morning I shot 1,450.
Here's Hanlon penetrating off the glass and count it.
It paid off. Hanlon led the Statesman to a state title. Then it was on to Belmont, where Drew was an all-conference performer on an NCAA tourney team. Hanlon started his company, Pure Sweat, and wrote 1,000 pages on how basketball should be trained and played. His first client was this young man in the black shirt, a future NBA All-Star named Bradley Beal.
But it really started with Brad, and as all these other guys got results, more people wanted to come on board, and now I got a crew of 11 guys.
11 of the most famous basketball players in the world. How about Giannis Antetokounmpo, MVP, Joel Embiid, MVP, Jason Tatum, world champion, Tyrese Halliburton, All-Star. So how does he do it? A 5'11" point guard from a small college teaching postman skills to one of the best 7-footers in the world, like Embiid.
The cool thing about my clientele is it blends all together. It's all about family. It's all about supporting each other, building each other up, and ultimately doing the best that we possibly can.
Drew is somebody who's real. He's very honest with you, maybe a little bit more honest than you want him to be sometimes, but he's real, but he's dedicated in what he does.
Drew Hanlon, the former Webster star, is now a star maker in the NBA.
That's sharp, Jay.
How about that?
It's really amazing that he's got all those amazing clients.
And the thing about it is, it's like the line from Flashdance, make your passion happen. He had that at such a young age, and he knew he couldn't play in the NBA, and now he wants to make people great.
Yeah, well, and he's doing that.
Yep.
And I didn't know you were a Flashdance fan.
Oh, I love Jennifer Beals.
Of course you do. Starting the season on a good note, the ticket deal Blues fans need to act on before going to bed tonight. The holiday shopping season gets an early start this week. Target's Circle Week kicked off yesterday and runs through October 12th. Tomorrow and Wednesday, you can find deals with Amazon's Prime Big Day Deal Days and Best Buy's Flash Sale. Walmart's Holiday Deals event also kicks off tomorrow and runs through October 13th.
The Blues drop the puck on a new season tomorrow afternoon in Seattle, as Frank mentioned. Right now, Ticketmaster is waiving online service fees for all 41 home games. Special offer ends, though, in about 90 minutes, so you got to act fast. The first home game is a week from tomorrow.
A week from tomorrow.
And there you have it. 5 on your side at 10. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is next.
Be sure to start your day with Today in St. Louis, and that starts at 4 a.m. Have a great tomorrow.